Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined by Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia, and Zach Bloomquist, the best executive producer in the game. You know, it's kind of funny. I usually have stuff written down for the intro, but that's just, I completely went on autopilot there.
Well, hey, once you've done it once, you've done it a million times.
Yeah, a million times.
It's in your head now.
Now I'm used to it.
We got the full squad here today, so you don't need to carry the whole load, Paul. We got you covered.
Yeah, if you want to check out, I did a very quick instant reaction to Josh Jacobs going to the Packers and then Kirk leaving the Vikings for the Falcons. About 8 minutes. Yeah, it's up on our YouTube channel right now. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Another a good day for the channel today. We're at 9,200, a little bit over that in subscribers, trying to get to 10,000 by the draft. I really think we're in good shape to get there.
That's very doable. Are we taking shots when we get to 10K the next episode?
Yeah,
we
have
have to,
100%.
right?
100%.
We're doing nothing because every time we hit something, we're like, oh, let's put a post out.
No,
you know what we
10K
do?
is gonna be
Nothing.
different. 10K is going to be different.
10K is a big number. 10K is a big number.
10K is the real deal.
So was 5K.
10K will definitely
We
do
took a
something.
shot for 5K, did we not?
I think we
I
did.
thought we
maybe
did.
1,000. I think for 1,000.
Oh, maybe 1,000. Right,
5K
right.
we just rocketed past and said, hell with it. We're going to 10.
Well, 5K was quick. We just got past 5K. Now it was like a 5K, 6K, 7K, 8K.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. We couldn't even, we didn't have time for it at the moment. Also, the NCAA tournament is next week. We're going to open up Paul Farrington Show Bracket Challenge. We did it last year and it was a lot of fun. I think we had 100, maybe a couple hundred people sign up last year. This year, we're hoping to really have people, it's free to enter, and whoever wins will get a free piece of merch. Just pick whatever you like from the shop. We'll somehow find a way to get in contact with you. I'm not sure if we know how yet, but whoever wins will get a free piece of merch. Again, it's free to enter, so may as well join. We'll have, maybe I'll throw up a graphic here saying how you could enter.
Well, and all those Packers fans are going to want their I Love Love shirt, so they
For free.
all sign up.
For free.
Yeah, one free I Love Love shirt. I mean, that's worth. Paul, you remember how hard it was to get a Jordan Love jersey. This is worth just as much.
Why are you bringing that up, man? The Jordan Love jersey, I think, is in that box over there from when we moved studios. Now, it's just sitting in my basement. It's like a little black cloud in the corner.
I bet you like 70% of our bracket challenge this year is Packer fans taking Wisconsin as like a 6 seed to win the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
Or Marquette.
Marquette,
Yeah,
right,
it's not bad,
Marquette,
not bad.
Marquette. That would be a decent pick.
Okay, so a lot of news today. A lot of things breaking throughout the entire day. But we'll talk a little bit about some stories that have been developing over the past few days. Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones trade. Then, of course, the Packers made some big moves today. David Bakhtiari's cut, who's been there forever. Lions make a move. Giants make a trade. Tons of news in the NFL today. But the biggest piece, the biggest domino to fall that everyone was waiting all day. It was pretty funny. I'm sitting here all day refreshing Twitter, waiting to see Kirk Cousins news. And someone goes, I can't believe we're all here and the NFL world is gripped by Kirk Cousins going to the Vikings or the Falcons. That was the news today we were waiting for. And finally it broke that Kirk Cousins is leaving the Vikings to go to the Falcons on a 4-year, $180 million contract. So the captain's gone. Captain, my captain, he's moving on to greener pastures, I guess. Or in this case, I actually think it's worse. But
I mean, that's pretty tough to
it was a tough
turn
pill.
down there. If you're Captain Kirk, but
I mean, yeah, earlier this week, we were saying Kirk Cousins might be the best negotiator in the history of sports, and some people laughed at us. Look at him now.
yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota. I do not think that they were going to try to match what Atlanta was going to give to Kirk Cousins.
Not that.
I think that would have been a bit ridiculous. But like, Paul, you've said in the past, and I tend to agree, like Kirk Cousins is a very good QB, but we've seen Minnesota with Kirk Cousins, and like you've brought it up, what really is this ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
Can they win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins? Probably not. They would have had to pay him a crap ton. He's older. I don't think hitting the start over button is the worst thing in the world for Minnesota.
No, it was a long time coming, and I said that in the little reaction that I did. You were going to get to this point eventually. When you have someone like Kirk that you love cheering for so much, it stinks to see him move on when he still has some left in the tank. But it's funny. I was telling Ziggy just a couple hours ago, with all the moves the Vikings made today, going out and getting a couple defensive ends, getting a linebacker. All of a sudden now they're maybe a cornerback or two away from being in a position where we're going to be saying, hey, we're a quarterback away from contending. So it's, when you have a good quarterback, it's hard to let him go. But yeah, we just couldn't match that 4-year 180.
Well, Paul, can I say something here as a
Please.
Vikings fan who has watched Kirk Cousins leave? The Kirk Cousins era was an interesting era. I was reading a piece by someone and said, Kirk Cousins is maybe the most boring quarterback to play some of the most exciting games of football you've ever seen. And that was Kirk Cousins to a T. There were so many exciting games he was with the Vikings. I'll always remember that incredible Buffalo Bills game. I'll always remember that Colts quarterback. And Kirk Cousins, he was a guy who suffered from the reputation he had from the first couple of years in Minnesota. Everyone says that he throws only checkdowns. He threw deep balls above average in the NFL. People said he's a garbage time stat patter. Only 2.5% of his EPA was in garbage time. That's 24th of 32 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Preach, brother.
People always said that Kirk Cousins could never come back when he was down. He's 5th and 4th quarter comeback since 2020. But, Kirk Cousins, the thing about him was he was never someone you could believe in. He'd always give you good performances. He'd play pretty well. But he just wasn't the kind of guy that you really believed watching him could lead you to a Super Bowl. It's very likely that the Vikings quarterback situation for a number of years, who knows, maybe a decade, maybe 2 decades, knowing us, is going to be worse than these years of Kirk Cousins. But as a Vikings fan, and I think I'm going to regret saying this, I am willing to trade that for something to believe in. Right now, that's what we're getting.
The 2 things that I'll always remember from Kirk Cousins. Number 1 is the playoffs, throwing a 2-yard slant on 4th and 8.
Oh, enough. Stop that. Stop that.
But hey,
going to remember the 4th quarter or the overtime bomb.
I didn't finish yet. Number 2.
I'm sorry. That's a ridiculous thing to think of. That was not Kirk Cousins' fault.
No. When I had Kirk in fantasy, I think maybe 2 seasons ago, and he was my backup QB. And I left him on the bench every single game.
Yeah.
And I came in last place. And then I went back and looked through the league schedule. And Kirk was so good, where if I started Kirk Cousins in every game that season, I would have went from last place to winning the championship.
Yeah.
And I didn't play Kirk once.
Ziggy, I do think, to be fair to Kirk, where I do agree, I was highly skeptical of whether or not the Vikings could win a Super Bowl with Kirk at quarterback. But from what, and last season, I thought he was coming on and playing his literally the best football of his career.
Yeah.
So if he came back and played anything like that, the Super Bowl could have been on the table. But I look back on the Kirk Cousins, 6 years? I think 6 years. Jeez.
He's started
Crazy.
the 3rd most games of any quarterback in Vikings history.
No, he's an all-time great Viking quarterback. You look back on the Kirk Cousins era, and it is disappointing to only have 1 playoff win, but a lot of those teams would have been horrible without Kirk Cousins. I think he was absolutely tremendous for them. I look back on it with that one season, a year ago, it was just one of the most fun Viking years. Probably the 2nd or 3rd most fun Viking year I've ever had in my life, with all the comebacks. And you take him off that team, that's a 5-win team, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins was awesome. He was great, but the problem was, and it was unfortunate for Vikings fans like yourselves, there was always a few missing pieces. Like, they were never super complete.
Defense was never there.
Yeah,
defense was really never there.
It wasn't a roster that Kirk Cousins was quite good enough to win with. But if the pieces were all there, he would have been.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Jack's fantasy team, right? I mean, if you surround Kirk with the right talent, I think you can win a championship. And I kind of hope he does in Atlanta, because I don't think we're going to be contending for a little while. But again, you never have that belief in him. I don't know, Kirk Cousins, he's put out a couple of books on his career, reflecting on things and talking about his free agency decisions and all of that. And there's an image he included in his most recent one that updated for the Vikings that stuck with me. He was talking about his time at Michigan State and how that sort of formed him. And he put in a picture of what Michigan State gives every single one of their quarterbacks while he was there. And it said Michigan State quarterbacks, and then 2 bullet points: manage the game, make good decisions. Kirk Cousins did those things, right? That's clearly who he was. He tried freelancing at Michigan State. It was terrible when he was there. And he learned his lesson. And he's been a good quarterback, and I wish him the best. But it was time.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it was time. And great Viking quarterback who was just, paid a ton of money that we weren't ready to do. And I said on the little reaction I did, my belief is that Kwesi said, O'Connell clearly wanted Kirk back. And my belief is that Kwesi said, we just can't do 4 years, 180.
I think O'Connell would have said no at that price.
Probably.
Yeah, dummy.
Probably.
It's also different if you guys had a Super Bowl roster.
I think they're close to competing in the NFC if Kirk was on the team. But they probably
spend that much money for 4 more years of Kirk with the current Vikings. Like, I still don't think that they would have won anything.
Probably not, especially with Detroit's really good. Green Bay is really good. It's hard to even win the North. So look, today they had a good day in free agency. You just have to, they're going to get Jefferson for $30+ million. And now you have to hit the quarterback. I think Kwesi's going to say, hey, you pick your guy, O'Connell. It's time for you to have the person you want, the young guy leading the charge. We'll go get him, as long as it's possible. So if that's Jaden Daniels, if Drake May falls to 3, I could see them making a move up to 3. Otherwise, it'll probably be J.J. McCarthy at quarterback for the Vikings next year. And we'll have a lot more to talk about that. How about just like 1 or 2 minutes quickly on Atlanta? Because I feel bad. We haven't mentioned the Falcons at all, and they had a huge day today. I mean, this is a franchise-altering move. Do you guys think with Kirk in Atlanta, they're clearly the favorite to win the South, right?
Oh, yeah. We brought this up on the last episode when that, I forget who tweeted it, said Cousins was Cousins to Atlanta's close. I forget who tweeted that. Mm-hmm. And we said that Atlanta with Kirk Cousins should be a no-brainer to win the South. They should be a huge minus number for the South.
Yeah. The Bucs are the only one.
115 right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great bet.
The people are going to see Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback. Now, can he take the Falcons past the wild card round or divisional round? I don't think so. I think this Atlanta team is good, but I take the Vikings weapons over Atlanta.
I do too, but it's kind of like a similar situation.
It's similar. They're just worse.
Yeah, it's similar, just a little bit worse. Yeah.
The difference is they can get there because of the division.
But they'd have an easier time, reaching the playoffs than Minnesota would. Yeah. But once you're in the playoffs,
they were in the playoffs was 2017, and that was their last playoff win. So, we talked about this with the Bears, right? Some franchises, the expectations are just lower, and making the playoffs and getting a playoff win or two, Kirk Cousins can deliver that.
But here's the thing, too. If you're a Falcons fan, you should be super hyped up, because if you win that division, look what the Bucs did. You win the division, you get a home game. Anybody can win a playoff game at home. And then you're in the divisional round right away. At that point,
and who's to say, the NFC's not even that good. You can go and if they're a 3 seed or even somehow get a 2 seed.
At that point, a veteran Kirk Cousins divisional round, you never know.
Yeah, no, it's great for Atlanta. It's a hefty price though. I mean, they're paying a lot of money, an amount of money that most Vikings fans did not want to pay. It's funny that a lot of non-Vikings fans have said, maybe you should have paid him, but it probably would have been the same story. It probably would have been the same story as recent. It's just, it's hard to choose to not compete.
Yeah, because Atlanta too is an organization that, when you have a quarterback who you've had for a number of years who's been good, like Matt Ryan, who can take you to the playoffs and take you to a Super Bowl, and then you have a quarterback. I mean, they haven't been to the playoffs in 5 years?
What's crazy is there were people on Twitter who were saying, I saw some great tweet that said a lot of Falcons fans or people are saying they're worried Kirk Cousins will be like Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was the best quarterback in the history of the Falcons.
Matt Ryan was awesome.
Yeah, they're like, Matt Ryan's the best quarterback in franchise history. If you get Matt Ryan, you're thrilled.
So they have Matt Ryan for a long time, and they were good. And now there's been a 5-year playoff drought.
Yeah,
without a quarterback. And you kind of miss having a quarterback.
It's like you don't know what you have till it's gone.
Yeah, I understand the move, and I understand the price Atlanta had to pay. I think it was justifiable.
Yeah, it's and Matt Ryan, think about that 1 year where he was just, I thought Matt Ryan, very good quarterback his whole career. A lot of times when you thought of elite quarterbacks, I don't know if Matt Ryan was the first person to come to mind, but he was capable of top level play like you saw in the MVP season. I think Kirk is kind of in that same boat where if Kirk Cousins turns it up again this year, Atlanta, they should be good.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting day for Falcons fans. And it's just so fun to root for Kirk too. So we don't need to spend a 30-minute show on Kirk Cousins though, which
we were getting there.
It could easily turn into that.
We can end the episode now.
We probably could. I love Kirk Cousins. Mount Rushmore, maybe Viking for me. Okay, Russell Wilson. Jack.
Let Russ cook, baby. Let Russ cook.
I saw your post last night. Late last night, you said, what do you say? I can roll with this?
I said I can back this.
Yeah.
I said I can back this.
I can back this at
I saw
1 in the morning.
I saw ESPN posted a graphic of Russ and George Pickens. So, you know what? I can back this.
For $1.2 million, of course you can.
And then I saw Russ's post on Instagram with the Steeler Nation waving the towels and Renegade playing. And he's like, all right, year 13 Steelers, here we go. It got me hyped.
So, given who Russell Wilson is,
they were paying nothing.
Yeah, you're paying nothing at all. But given who Russell Wilson is, the superstar, big money, it feels a lot of times if you go after a guy like with that name that you're tying your future to him. I don't know how many people realize that's not the case with Pittsburgh at all. Pittsburgh got Russ for literally nothing, $1.2 million this year. He's just on the team, but essentially, you're rolling the dice, and you're not even rolling the dice. You're just like, hey, here's either our backup quarterback or likely our starter heading into this year with essentially no risk involved in the game at all. And when you think about the guys that Pittsburgh, the alternative options, it was trade draft capital, potentially a big deal down the line for Justin Fields. Baker got over $100 million. Kirk had a huge deal. All the guys that you mentioned for Pittsburgh came at some sort of risk, and Russell Wilson comes with literally nothing.
Yeah, it was ultimately it was going to be Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph once again, and that's just average and more average.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, it's just you have such a short leash as a quarterback, and it's unfortunate, it really is. But as a Steelers fan, and most would probably agree, some probably won't, but most probably would, that with the current state of the Steelers, a quarterback like Kenny Pickett, I know he's still very young, will not take you to the promised land. Whereas Russell Wilson at 75%, Russell Wilson at 75% of what he's capable of doing. Up. Russell Wilson at 75% of what Russell Wilson is capable of being can take the Steelers to a Super Bowl. Mark my words.
That's a big expectation. I mean, look, if I'm a Steelers
but I think it's an expectation. If you get a good Russell Wilson, the Steelers can go to the AFC Championship game. Whereas that's not the case with Kenny Pickett.
I mean, you saw Russell Wilson at like 75 or 80% last year. He was not a AFC Championship quarterback.
I think we're better than the Broncos by a lot.
Oh, here's the thing about the Steelers and why I'd be happy about this. I'm not sure if the fit in the Arthur Smith offense makes sense. I'm not sure how good the weapons are going to be. I'm not sure if the defense is going to be able to do it again, though I think they likely can. But here's why you should be excited. We have seen so much complacency from the Steelers over the years. Complacency at the quarterback position. Complacency at the offensive coordinator. Complacency with Tomlin. Right? I'm not saying they should have let Tomlin go or anything, but there's been a lot of accepting average or slightly above average results. Bringing on Russ at least says you're not doing that anymore. Because if you were fine with complacency, you'd keep Pickett around, you'd bring in Rudolph as the backup. And this is what all the beat reporters were expecting, right? Because that's the Steelers' way, and it has been up until this point. I think the quarterback of the future is not the quarterback of 2025 is not on the Steelers roster right now. But this gives me real optimism that they're willing to keep punching and aren't going to give up until they find the guy they've been looking for.
So the last
maybe it is Russ. Maybe you're right, Jack. I don't think it is, but it could be.
Oh no, it might not be. But the last two seasons with Mitch and Pickett, and then Pickett and Rudolph, this is a team over 500, a team who went to the playoffs. Like you're telling me, and then with a hard schedule too, and like you're telling me with Russ playing 3/4 of what Russ can do, that's not a team who could be dangerous.
Oh no, I do think that this was a good move for guys. The ceiling for Wilson is higher than the ceiling for Pickett.
But by a lot. Like that's not even close to me. The ceiling for both those guys.
Yeah, Russ had a quietly good 2023. Yeah. I mean, look, the Broncos are a disaster for his entire time there.
Maybe we get Super Bowl Russ, and then we're a top 3 favorite in the conference.
Well, he's one of those guys. He's not the mobile quarterback that he used to be. You're relying a lot more on his arm talent, which is still solid. I mean, he had a few games last year where he really looked the part. But there was also the disaster Russ. So the nice thing about this, when it's a $1.2 million deal and the no risk involved, is if it does blow up, who cares? Ziggy mentioned it. You don't have, in all likelihood, your 2025 quarterback on the roster. So if it goes wrong, oh well, you draft your new quarterback next year with probably a high pick. And if it goes right, Now you have a very talented team. That's the crazy thing about the Steelers is with all of the average play we've seen from them, or seemingly average play, they're still making the playoffs in the tougher conference.
It's a good organization.
Which is crazy. It's crazy that last year they were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
And that year
think about the teams that missed.
The year with washed up Big Ben too. That team got to the playoffs.
Yeah, they get to the playoffs. But Ziggy, I actually thought the one thing that you mentioned that I really agreed with, and you could relate it to the Vikings, is it's felt the same. The complacency. The Steelers have felt the same. The Vikings have felt the same for so many years. Where making moves like this, even though they could blow up in your face, isn't there something kind of refreshing to it?
No, there isn't. We haven't won a playoff game in like 7 years.
Oh, you just go to the wild card round and get spanked.
Yeah, we haven't won a playoff game in like 7 or 8 years. I don't know the exact number of years, but it's somewhere around there. Like our last win I think was against the Dolphins in
was that Dolphins 2016?
Yeah, 2016.
Sorry,
no,
Zach.
you beat the Chiefs afterwards, right? And then lost to the Patriots.
Right. Yeah, so it was that season though. We beat the Chiefs on 6 field goals. That was our last playoff win.
That was the Alex Smith Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
That's the last time the Falcons won a playoff game was that year. You've had the same playoff.
Well, that's the year the
Falcons.
That's the year the Falcons lost to the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to talk about that.
Not talking about.
But what truly is amazing though is the fact that like Denver is paying Russ to not be on their team. Like we're not paying Russ to be on our team.
No, you're not.
Like Denver
you're really
is
not
paying Russ to don't be on our team anymore. Like, all right, we'll take him. Great.
Oh yeah, I mean the scraps of the Broncos for you guys. You're begging for something.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett had 6 touchdowns in 12 games last year.
No, I think
this is amazing for you guys.
I think Big Ben had a stretch of 2 games in like 2017 where he had more passing yards than Pickett's put up in a season.
Yeah, last year Pickett had 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in 12 games. There was a stretch from October 1st through December 3rd. He played in 10 games, and he had 2 touchdowns.
Short leash.
I mean, no, he had a long leash. He had a way too long leash, it felt like. But
no, what was that? His third year?
No, you're right. I thought Pickett, what was this year? Was this year 3? I thought there's...
Maybe 2?
That's
year 3. No, this was, I mean, Kenny Pickett's been there a long time.
Oh, this was year 2 for Pickett.
He's been the starter
this is year 2.
He's been the starter for 2 years.
Yeah, so right? His third year.
Yeah, that's not a long leash.
Yeah. No, the leash wasn't there.
Yeah, but we went out and got Russ.
Yeah, but they couldn't do it. You couldn't keep Pickett. And look, who knows what happens? It's nice that you still have him on the roster, and if Russ sucks and Pickett comes in and looks good again, like he's still there.
You never know.
But I think it's a good move for the Steelers. It's not one that I expect will win the Super Bowl or anything.
No, I think it is.
But it's certainly more promising, and it's exciting too. Russell Wilson is a star.
Also, in this year's Super Bowl, when we have the ball on the 1 yard line, we're giving the ball to Najee. Like Mike Tomlin's not Pete Carroll.
No, you don't. You guys always get stuffed
we're
on that
hand
play.
The ball to Najee. He'll boom up the middle touchdown. Like,
I thought you guys are like notorious for getting blown up on that play.
Russ won't throw a slant and get picked. This will be Najee, boom, hurdle over the goal line, touchdown, win the game. And Russ gets his ring. 2nd ring. 3rd ring? 2nd ring.
It's the land of misfits with Arthur Smith, Russell Wilson. It's the revenge
It could
group.
be a good thing.
It's the revenge group. Okay. Maybe Jack's second favorite team. I'm not sure. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 3 years, $100 million, up to $115 with incentives for Baker Mayfield.
$100 million.
What did I say?
You said the incentives don't count. No one counts incentives.
No, okay.
Baker the playmaker.
Okay. It's still true, though. But yes, 3 years, $100 million for Baker. I had a conversation with John Milikoff, who hosts 3 and Out.
Baker's good.
For the volume yesterday. And this was, again, I guess 2 days ago at this point. This was pre-Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. And I was saying to him, the one thing that I'm kind of questioning right now in the NFL is if you have a quarterback that you don't think can win you a Super Bowl, and this is actually kind of like the Ziggyology, I would say, if you don't really believe in the quarterback you have, to just keep taking swings at the draft until you get them. That's what I've been debating lately. It's like, is a guy like Baker actually going to win the Super Bowl for the Bucs? Probably not. But in the case of Tampa Bay, that's why Atlanta's willing to spend so much money on Kirk. Tampa Bay feels like, hey, we got to the divisional round of the playoffs this year. There was a fairly close game with Detroit too.
Oh yeah.
If a couple of things go different, they're in the NFC Championship game. You look up and down the NFC South. Panthers suck. so do the Saints. Saints are in cap hell. And now it's you versus Kirk Cousins essentially for the division. I like the move for Tampa Bay. You can't really do anything with the 26th pick in terms of going to get a quarterback. So it really did feel like Baker or bust, maybe more than some people were willing to pay. But with what you got from Baker last year, I think this is another really good signing.
Yeah, me too. I think Baker needed to change of scenery, get down to South Florida, and then he did his thing. I mean, he was good. Mike Evans was good. 1,200 yards. And I thought there was a chance his team could have won that game in Detroit. It was a touchdown game late. And at that point, you never know. But like, there's no reason to believe now with Baker, if Baker can play well again, they can't get back there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a great... I told Ziggy he was staying too.
Yeah, now historically, there's no chance Baker follows us up with anything other than a terrible year.
That's the other side of this, yes.
But, I mean, here's the thing, right? I think this is a really good contract. The thing that the Buccaneers did that I think is really important is they didn't try and one-up the Daniel Jones deal. They told Baker Mayfield, like, look, pal, we respect you, but your comp is Geno Smith, not Daniel Jones. We're just going to pretend that didn't exist and negotiate from there. Now, he got a better deal than Geno did because he doesn't have that like weird second-year option thing Geno has built in.
Mm-hmm.
But if Baker plays well, they get him at a bargain price for another couple years. If he doesn't, then you just have him compete for the job next year. There's not a lot of risk to the Bucs. And, even if, as I think, you keep taking swings in the draft, if you have a guy as good as Baker Mayfield, an above average quarterback, it's not like you have to let him walk. Keep him around, stay competitive, let Mike Evans sort of enjoy some of the later years of his career and play to win games.
That's the thing. It ultimately comes down to you want to be playing competitive football. And maybe I'm just so tired of losing that's why I've been thinking, okay, like, just go get your Mahomes. Like I want a guy like that. I want, and Mahomes is greedy, but I want my star quarterback. And if I'm a Bucs fan, I like Baker, but I don't really have faith in going far with him. But if you're here at 26 and you let's say they fall in love with Michael Penix, like go ahead, draft him. The Packers are doing this all the time where they draft a quarterback when they have one, and not all the time, but it's clearly worked the past 2 times they've done it. So I didn't think there were many other options, but it's also not like this was a bad option. Now you get to compete. If you didn't have Baker, who are they going to have if you didn't have Baker?
That's the thing. Like the 26 is a strange spot to pick if you're a team like Tampa. And we've talked about on several occasions. I brought it up with Minnesota that do you really believe that Kirk could have won you Super Bowl? Do you believe this QB can win you Super Bowl? Blah blah blah. But the other side of the ball is I'd rather pretty much guarantee myself to be a decently competitive team with a decently competitive quarterback than not know where I'm going next.
Because it could take forever.
Yeah, and that's what they did re-signing Baker. And
their team is also built around Baker. It's not like the Bucs are like in win now, but they basically are. With Evans, Godwin, the defense. If Baker's good, they're a solid team.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're the only other team I expect to be seriously competitive for this division. All you have to do is get some primetime games against Kirk Cousins, and the division's yours.
Yeah, right.
And once you reach again, this team should have eyes on going to the postseason, like Atlanta. And once you reach the postseason, yeah, obviously it's hard. It's hard, but it's a crapshoot.
You want to go back.
It's a crapshoot.
Oh yeah, after making it a couple years ago when the Vikings lost to the Giants this year, I was like, hey, let's knock the door down. That's just the mentality.
It's a crapshoot.
What's really funny? If you were right now in Cleveland, would you rather have Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson?
Baker Mayfield. I think Mayfield.
What about you, Ziggy? Would you rather have Baker or Deshaun?
At the price, Baker, no question.
Yeah.
Overall, it's close.
I mean, I think
Deshaun Watson's put some better years, but Baker's year last year is better than any of Deshaun's in the past 3.
I think
Zach,
Baker
hated
Deshaun
Cleveland,
guy.
right?
I think Baker hated Cleveland.
I mean, obviously you're not. Obviously you're not
just put me on blast like that.
Obviously you're not a huge fan of Deshaun Watson, the person, but the player, I thought you like. Is this just because he's on your fantasy team?
It's just because he was on my fantasy team.
Oh,
I like anybody that's on my fantasy team.
Zach stopped by the parlor a couple times, actually.
Yeah, right. Jeez. No, but when you talk about for the money, it's very clearly Baker Mayfield. I actually, if you gun to my head, if I had to take one of them, I would probably still swing for the upside of Deshaun Watson, even though that Is the upside really even there anymore? Probably not.
And that's that dark cloud bit you get with Cleveland.
Oh yeah,
that,
of course.
Like there it is. Like I mean, if Baker came back to Cleveland now, it'd suck again.
I mean, it has to be one of the worst. It's the worst deal in the history of football.
Watson and Mike Evans would he'd light up the league
right now. If you're a Cleveland fan and you see the deal that Baker has the way he looked last year, yeah, you probably prefer Baker Mayfield, and I think almost everyone would say yes. Compared to the hell they're in right now, what was it? 5 years was 235, 245, fully guaranteed.
And that team seriously is just some decent QB play away from winning a Super Bowl.
Oh, way more than Tampa.
No,
yes.
Yeah, no. If I'm a Cleveland fan who sees the difference in the Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson salaries, I'm putting in my GPS for Hope Memorial Bridge.
Oh my God.
Like the Browns are in such a bad spot here because of the decision they made. I feel bad for the fans, but I hope the team just gets worse and worse every year.
Well, think about the way too that they could have if you have Baker's deal, and now it's just fun playing these hypotheticals. I think just
putting a toaster in a bath would be easier.
think about what you could do with that roster if you had more money to play with and weren't dealing with Deshaun's contract. I mean, the defense is already loaded. Go get yourself a stud receiver. Like this Cleveland team, Oh, they could be right there.
You finishing?
Yeah. So, real quickly, last quarterback we'll talk about here, I believe last quarterback is not too long. Mac Jones was traded. No, for a second. Mac Jones was traded from. You guys are like, no way are we talking about this right now. Mac Jones was traded from the Patriots to the Jaguars for a 6th-round pick. There's been a lot of people, surprising number of people.
Wait, you're still talking about this?
Look, he's a good backup QB.
Well, no. There's a surprising amount of people who have been asking questions about the Jaguars from our mailbag, and we will be hitting the mailbag on the Wednesday show again because there's just so much news today. The show never would have ended. We'd be here for 3 hours if we included the mailbag.
We've been here for 3 hours already.
It's been a long show already, and we've just begun. But Mac Jones goes over to Jacksonville, and he's going to serve in the backup role there. A lot of people were confused when it first came out whether or not, like what the hell is Jacksonville doing? But I actually thought this was a really good trade. Mac, I don't have much faith in him anymore as a starter. It's not a lot of people do. But for Jacksonville, you have him for 1 year, probably? Is it a 1 year thing?
They're not picking up the 5th.
Yeah, you have 1 year of Mac Jones, and Trevor Lawrence is all banged up this year. I'd be very happy to have Mac Jones as a backup. I thought this was a great deal. Did anyone? I know.
Yeah, but I think he is a more of a backup quarterback.
Awesome backup.
Like more of a backup QB than a starter. So it looks like that's what he's trajecting towards, at least right now in the NFL. Yeah, probably the best backup in the league at this point. But this is one of those deals where it's like I looked at my notification on my phone, the ESPN breaking news things. Some deals like the Barkley deal, I'm like, Wilkins. I'm like, oh, this deal, I'm like, toss my phone back down. I didn't really care. But
I was like, wow.
But I think he's a very good backup QB, especially when your starting QB has some injury history.
I mean, is this the least exciting Pro Bowl quarterback trade of all time? I mean,
probably.
I mentioned the Pro Bowl thing just because, Mac Jones put out a year of decent tape when he had a good offense around him, a good coordinator, guys who
in
knew
the playoffs.
Play. Yeah, he had a good rookie season. It's better than some of these trades. I think of the deal that Jeff Okuda just got to the Texans. That's purely we're hoping that your draft capital meant something. The Mac Jones thing, he's put some decent tape out there. There's a possibility he blossoms into a solid backup and maybe even a fringe starter.
Oh yeah, I think it's a great deal. It's an awesome deal for Jacksonville because if you had Mac Jones on your roster this year, and Trevor goes down and is banged up the way he is, you might sneak into the playoffs. They needed one more win to get in. Backup quarterbacks matter. You don't think they do up until you're a fan of the Bengals last year or you're a fan of the Vikings last year, and all of a sudden you go, wait a second, we're screwed. Season's over.
Yeah, look, trading a 6th-round pick for a good backup QB, I think it's a good move.
No problem at all.
You draft a backup QB in the 6th round and hope they're in some good.
Oh yeah, 100%. And Colin was talking on his show the other day that the leash for quarterbacks now in the NFL seems to be Thanksgiving of your second year. Which remember when we were younger, it was. Do you remember this? You had till year 3. You had year 3 all the way through. Mm-hmm. I remember when for the love of God, when we drafted Christian Ponder, we watched 2 years of Ponder.
Oh, I felt like Ponder was a quarterback for a decade.
Forever. We had 2 years of Ponder. And going into year 3, it was like, well, here's the make or break year for Christian. Like, no. They're looking back on it now. Potter would have been benched week 8 of his rookie season.
Yeah.
The leash for quarterbacks has completely changed as the NFL has become more of the instant gratification kind of a league where, now you don't have a lot of time. And we're seeing that with Kenny Pickett, with the Mac Joneses. People are just done.
Like, I do also feel like, though, if you can see, like, these guys can see, these GMs, whoever they may be within the organization, and so can we. You can see early on in a lot of these guys' careers and potentials if they're going to have it or if they don't. Like, CJ Stroud's got it. Kenny Pickett probably does not. Jordan Love, his first year starting, his last 9 weeks, he's fantastic.
No, we talked about Jordan Love had 5 weeks of okay play, and then it was
great. Like,
bullshit.
If you're good and you're going to be good, you find it early on. Big Ben was undefeated his rookie year. Like, and if you don't have it, you're probably not going to have it.
Well, and it doesn't always show up in wins and losses.
I guess like Josh Allen is an exception to what I'm saying, but
not even really. I mean, Josh Allen, they got him Diggs and he was great.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Josh Allen is an exception, but it's usually by the second year they have to have shown something, and Allen had at least shown the physical talent.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Josh Allen as a rookie as a 17-point dog in Minnesota hurdling Anthony Barr, and I
won the game.
I wanted to throw my head into a wall.
I had Minnesota money line parlay that day, and it was 5 for 6 in that loss.
I mean, in hindsight, though, clearly the Bills are, Josh Allen's a great quarterback. Yeah. Okay, just a few more things here. So the Eagles, this is fun to talk about. I'm happy about this. Before we get to the running back situation with them, Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox both retired, and I'm thrilled because I can't. I'm done with Philly. Yeah, I'm just done with Philly ever since 6 years ago, or however long ago now it was. And the Eagles, you saw the regression from Jalen Hurts this year, the doubt in Nick Sirianni. A lot of people saying Shane Steichen was kind of the glue of what made that operation go, or at least questioning that. To see Jason Kelce, who I do think that without him, the tush push is in jeopardy because he's just unbelievable. I mean, Jason Kelce was an all-pro, first-team all-pro.
Oh, it's a huge loss. Isn't that mostly Hurts, though? Like, he squats like 900 pounds.
I think a lot of that is
really
Kelce.
Need to have. I mean, Jalen Hurts can squat as many pounds as he wants. If there are 2 defensive tackles in your face, you're not going anywhere.
I think Kelce is just unbelievable at that. But still,
yeah,
you lose. People think about the age for Jason Kelce. He's around, 36 years old. But if I just said to you, hey, first-team all-pro center retired, you go, that's a lot different reaction than, hey, our 36-year-old center retired. He was huge loss.
He was awesome.
And Fletcher Cox was also good too. Like, to lose those 2 guys, given the way the season ended, I have a lot of questions about Philadelphia going into this year. I'm not that confident in them. I think the way I think of Philly is more of the team we saw 2 years ago with the first half of last year. I'm still kind of like having those effects hang over me when I think of them. They were bad at the end of the year. But today, Ziggy, let me ask you before we go into the running backs, like, are you confident in Philly this year? If you're picking NFC East, you got to lean Dallas, right?
Yeah, I'd probably put like Dallas plus 120 to win the NFC East.
Oh, odds maker.
Like the Eagles definitely they've got a chance. And, it's possible that like some other team steps up, but no, I mean, the Cowboys should be the clear favorite in this.
Yeah. I mean, I still think Philly's a solid team, but they're not the juggernaut that I feared going into last season.
They need to get replacements for offensive and defensive coaching because losing Gannon and Steichen really set this team back. Oh, so yeah, I mean, your head coach is on the hot seat. Your quarterback, who you committed an enormous amount of money to, suddenly has stuff to prove. Some guys are going to be up for deals soon. I think like AJ Brown might want a big new deal soon. Certainly, Devontae Smith's going to want his soon.
Isn't that crazy?
Players retiring left and right.
How quick it could fall apart.
Yeah, I mean,
windows are this is what's amazing about the Chiefs is how long they've kept their window open year in, year out.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely difficult in the NFL. And the Eagles, would it be shocking to me if the Eagles finished 3rd in the division? No.
I mean, this team 2 short seasons ago was in the Super Bowl, and I picked them last year to win the Super Bowl preseason. And we saw 2 massive declines in my eyes from the play of Jalen Hurts in terms of turnovers. Supposed to fumble the ball every single game. Turnovers were too much, and the defense. Like
Well,
this
defense was stunning.
This Philly team, when they made the Super Bowl, would lock you up, especially on their home field. Like they would blow teams out. They looked dominant. Last season, this defense, there were games where they were like Swiss cheese.
Oh, no.
Like
2 years ago, it felt like you were walking into an insane asylum
Yeah,
in Philly.
to lose by 40.
I was
Like,
petrified.
No, to lose by 40 points.
Yeah.
This past season, it's like, wait a minute, what happened to Philly?
These guys stink.
Like teams are going up and down the field on this defense, and it was just a total flip.
Ziggy, they're plus 115, the Cowboys. The Eagles are plus 135. Giants 900. Commanders 1,000. So,
and we also forget, like, this team was 10-1, but those first 11 weeks, I felt like were kind of like that Minnesota team from a couple years back, where they didn't look fantastic, but they were finding ways to win.
oh, yeah.
So we're like, all right, like they're finding ways to win. That's a good team to do, blah, blah, blah. And then the wheels just came off.
Well, and that's when you realized, they actually weren't really just finding ways to win. It was that they were covering up the mistakes.
It was like the 11-0
holes.
Steelers team lost in the first round. The exact same thing.
But then they go out today, and they make one of the biggest splashes of the day, signing Saquon to a 3-year, $37.75 million contract, $26 million guaranteed. And I mean, you hate it, right, Jack? Because you don't like running backs.
I think that's just way too much to pay an injured Saquon Barkley. I think, especially after you don't have Jason Kelce anymore. I don't like. I think a running back, that's a lot for a running back.
Ziggy, where did you come down on Saquon? And DeAndre Swift is with the Bears now for 3 years, $24 million.
I'm amazed at the size of the running back deals we've seen this year, but I don't know. It's a lot of money to give somebody who's really struggled with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Eagles could spend that money doing other things on their offense
and
their defense combined. I really worry, given how the defense dropped out, to give a big deal to Saquon and get the highest paid guard in the league. I wonder if their priorities are where they belong.
Like, yeah, they have, like, to me, there's more positions that are valuable and needed, especially now for them, than the running back position. Like, I think if you have a good defense and a good line, get anyone to play running back for cheap. I don't get paying Saquon $26 million. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I understand where you guys are coming from.
Saquon is one of those guys who can transform an offense. We've seen it. The problem is just he struggles to stay healthy. And the Eagles, again, you look at their problem last year, the offense was okay. It wasn't great. The play calling was bad, but it was okay. The defense dropping out is what caused them so many problems. And I worry the defense is going to get worse, not better.
Look at the Eagles teams who went to the Super Bowl. Look who their running backs were. Like, they were loaded everywhere besides running back.
Again, I do like running backs. I think Saquon is one of the few guys I've said multiple times that is a game changer. If he's healthy, I actually like it.
Paying an injured Saquon, that's
well, he's
too
not
much.
injured. He's not injured. He's injury prone.
That's way
he's not injured.
It's too much.
Here's a great tweet. Is this Justin Tuck? Yeah, I think it's Justin Tuck. Is it? Yeah. He says, Eagles going up. No, this can't be Justin Tuck. I don't know, whoever it is. Says, Eagles going all in 3 years in a row, ... And we still got Cowboys fans who are idiots and want to move on from our only advantage over them. It's a picture of Dak. The Eagles, they're making a lot of moves. They bringing back Graham, Landon Dickerson back, Barkley. They got Bryce Huff. I mean, look, if Jalen Hurts goes back to what he was a couple of years ago, all of a sudden we could be sitting here eating our own words, and this Philly team is soaring.
Like, you need a defense to play well.
No, you need a defense, but I mean, yeah, we'll see with Philly. I think that they can very quickly flip the switch back to me and be good. They do have a lot of things they need to figure out.
Who was it when they were dominant and won it? Who was a running back? Like Garrett Blunt?
Yeah, it was Blunt.
And
Blunt was good.
But like, who was it when they last year? Sanders?
Sanders was good last year.
I mean, yeah, but
I think that's the thing. I think Saquon is another level of, like, way above those guys.
But I just think there's so many more positions that are valuable.
What's up, Zach?
Last year was
Zach.
Last year was Swift, not Sanders.
No, the year they got to the Super Bowl was Sanders.
They're just positions they need more.
But if you had Saquon Barkley and now Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard, like that is.
And
that's
a defense
awesome.
that gives up 50 points a game.
Yeah, you got to figure out the defense. But
you need that more than you need Barkley for $26 million.
Yeah, I would have preferred defense, but if they're able to put together some pieces and be an average defense, an acceptable defense, then I'd be excited with Barkley.
Just get a line for cheap.
Yeah, maybe that's it's my Peterson bias. It's
Just get an O-line for
an issue.
cheap.
Okay,
All I'm saying is that Jalen Hurts' contract is on the books until 2035. So we'll see how that goes.
2035. Holy
Jeez.
crap. Okay, just a few more things here. The Packers, I mentioned them today in the quick reaction. They get Josh Jacobs 4 years, $48 million. And when that news broke, a lot of people, including myself, I didn't tell you guys, I recorded a reaction to it 3 times today. The first reaction I did the whole show, and then I realized that the computer froze and nothing recorded. I was like, okay, because the computer shut off. It's like, great, all right, have to redo this. I come back, record again, and I'm doing short reactions because I'm working during the day, but I'm doing short reactions. I record again, and I'm just talking about how pumped I'd be if I were a Packer fan to have Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs being able to spell each other. The two of them, great running backs. Yeah, I'm like, I would be pumped up for this two-headed monster. This really makes the offense, takes it to potentially another level. Just go get your defense and they're ready to go. As soon as I finish recording, I look down at my phone and I see, Aaron Jones gone. Nothing I said matters. And I re-record it for a third time.
I saw on Instagram a post. It was Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones side by side with each other. And the caption was like, a nice little two-headed monster here in Green Bay.
What was that for all of 30 minutes?
And all the comments were like, dude, Aaron Jones is gone, LOL. AJ's not there anymore, LOL. I mean, I think that's a downgrade.
Oh, I do too.
I think Aaron Jones is much better than Josh Jacobs.
A healthy Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has just had
but then
a
again,
lot, and Josh Jacobs has too, but Aaron Jones has had a lot of injury problems.
Then it doesn't matter to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
Josh Jacobs strikes me as a indoor warm weather running back.
The hell does that mean?
He went to Bama. He played in the dome in the NFL. Like he doesn't strike me as that cold weather playoff Green Bay snow-like running back.
Oh, the reaction to Aaron Jones leaving, I knew he was a fan favorite, but what we've seen from the reactions to the video we posted, Packer fans seem devastated. Like this was a huge loss.
Yeah, Aaron Jones would come out, it'll be a blizzard. He'd be in short sleeves. He'd be amped.
Like, he's awesome.
I don't know if I could see Josh Jacobs like that. Like he's an indoor dome running back.
What was your take, Ziggy, on the Josh Jacobs Aaron Jones flip? Were you also thinking?
I think Ziggy might have
screwed with this dome
running back. All of this indoor dome running.
I think he's a warm weathered running back.
Well, this is just Jack ideology.
Some of the best games of his entire career have been on the road.
A moderate temperature running back.
North cold weather. But the thing I think about this Josh Jacobs substitution is I guess I'm just not sure what it's supposed to prove or do. You're bringing in Josh Jacobs on a pretty big salary. He's had injury problems. He's coming off far and away the worst year of his career. I mean, he had a terrible season, right? He only had 2 games over 100 yards this year. This was not the season that you wanted to see from him. And the Packers have decided to reward him with a big deal when the Raiders, who by all accounts love him, he's a hard worker. Yeah. He has an incredible story. They decided he wasn't worth it, while they're handing out a bunch of win now, big money free agency contracts. So it's puzzling to me that the Packers have decided to do this. But setting that aside, the thing that stands out to me about free agency this year for the Packers, the rules have really changed in Green Bay. Since 2020 until today, the Packers had been the lowest spenders in free agency. They'd spent cash in free agency since 2020. That's 3 years. Just under $21 million. The highest spenders in that period, the Bengals, $287 million. So the Packers had spent about 7% of what the Bengals had. Now, the Packers actually gotten some value, and they didn't fall into the traps the Jets did. But just today, the 2 contracts, Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney, $116 million. Mm-hmm. A Packers fan sent me a DM saying he's never seen anything like this in Green Bay. And it certainly is different to see them going out and getting big money free agents. So while I don't necessarily think Josh Jacobs was the move, it's interesting to see them going in with Jordan Love and trying to make that final push before some of the bigger numbers and the extension they're inevitably going to give him kick in.
Well, Gutekunst said this. They were talking about the Packers roster and whether or not they were willing to make some big moves. And he said, yeah, like we have he essentially said, we have a really good team right now. We're not going to be afraid to go and get someone if we think he can take us over the hump.
He said that how many years of Aaron Rodgers and didn't do it?
No, and now finally, if I were a Packer fan, I'd be excited to see the aggressiveness, because you do feel like following that 49er game, there's a really sour taste in the mouth of Packer fans, where you had that. Like, we go back to that game, you watch the highlights, you're sick to your stomach. That game should have been Green Bay's. And the more you think about it, you go, wow, all right, we're already right there with the best team in the NFC. If we can just go and fill in a couple of these holes we have, the NFC's up for grabs, really. There's, you do fear the 49ers to a degree, but other than that, you can go out and grab it. I mean, you got to contend with the Lions in your own division. Detroit's really good. Like, I don't want to disrespect Detroit fans and just give it to Green Bay, because that's not the case at all. But the Packers have to feel like we're right there. And the moves they made today, unfortunately, they get rid of Aaron Jones, who, I do think that's a bit of a downgrade. Not much, but a little bit. But they certainly showed that, hey, we think we can go and win the whole damn thing.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Like, this team was on the road in the divisional round and had the game won. You have a great young receiving core, a great young quarterback. The main weakness was probably the defensive side of the ball in that secondary position. They just went and they got that. McKinney's he's a good safety.
Oh yeah, now you could go into the draft and just go get that best player available. Like, find the guy who completes the. I would get the defensive game wrecker. Whoever you think is that guy.
I mean, with McKinney, they really filled a massive quality need.
Oh yeah, 100%. Ziggy, I know you were kind of the guy Packers fans were leaning on when it came to, and maybe across the nation. Who's to say? When it came to this safety search, you suggested Kyle Duggar from the Patriots, who was then promptly tagged right after that video.
The Patriots knew they watched the video.
That was like 30 minutes later.
This guy's cooked.
That was like 30 minutes later.
Almost immediately after the video dropped.
I remember seeing that on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good call. That's a good call, Ziggy.
You have to be excited about Xavier McKinney, right? He was one of only 4 defenders last year with 115 plus tackles and 10 plus passes defended. Mm-hmm. PFF gave him the highest coverage grade of any safety in the NFL.
Oh God, I hate hearing this.
91.2. You know what Darnell Savage's was? 61.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 60.
So they're going from a below average pass defender to the best at the position in the entire league. So, like, again, as excited as I was about Duggar for the Packers, and by excited, I mean not excited.
I was going to say huge clarification right there.
Yeah. As much as I thought that was a good fit, I really thought the Giants were going to either tag or extend McKinney. I didn't think this was a realistic possibility. And the safety market being as big as it is really drove down McKinney's price. I don't know. I worry about the Packers getting a guy who can do it all. What felt like last year, defense couldn't do anything. And this is the exact opposite of that. So I don't know. There's certainly some cause for concern if you're a fan of another NFC North team with him coming in. And, I think, again, think of how much Jesse Bates turned around that Atlanta defense. Xavier McKinney's a little bit less of a playmaker, but he's a little more consistent to make up for it. I think this is a great signing from them. And safety is one of those positions that you should be targeting in free agency.
Oh, well, yeah, it does go with the Ziggy philosophy of premium positions, no go in free agency, draft. Yeah.
No, I mean, Xavier, you can have the best safety in the league. And Xavier McKinney was arguably the best safety in the league last year, hit free agency and signed a deal for $17 million. Mm-hmm. That is what free agency for premium players is for. And the Packers are doing it.
Yeah, 4 years.
Congratulations. Enjoy the NFC North. Enjoy how Xavier McKinney's getting like 5 interceptions against Sam Darnold next year when we roll him out.
Hey. By the end of the year, when JJ McCarthy is evolved into a Josh Allen-esque threat, and we have Justin Jefferson happy with his $150 million contract.
You're 3-12 going to Lambeau Field.
We're 3-12 going into Lambeau Field. You'll see who's sorry. You'll see who's running the North.
Playoffs.
You'll see who's running the North that day.
Who was the quarterback that you guys sent out there, your third string, that got immediately concussed?
Jaron Hall.
Jaron Hall. Yeah, I mean we had our three-headed monster of Jaron Hall, Josh Dobbs, and Nick Mullins last year, who almost took us to the playoffs. But
I think Jaron Hall's pretty good.
For McKinney, it's a 4-year, $68 million deal. We haven't seen anything with Jaron. We have no idea.
What if the Packers just roll?
Wait, didn't Hall play the first half of the New Year's Eve game? It was a disaster.
Oh yeah, it was horrible.
Absolute mess. $17 million a year roughly for Xavier McKinney. in Green Bay. And this was another thing. If you want to hear stats to get you excited, Packer fans, 592 snaps last year, 53 targets, 0 touchdowns allowed. So there you go. Another think about some of the great safeties in the league today. Are good. My maybe old friend.
I'm sorry, I got a little shiver just thinking about Xavier McKinney on the Packers. This is going to be a disaster for us.
My old friend Kyle Hamilton. Think about how he's turned around, helped turn. Not that the Ravens defense needed turning around, but just taking them to another level.
My old
great
friend
awesome.
Troy Polamalu.
Oh yeah.
He was quite good.
Great safety, so fun to watch. Playmakers. I mean, yeah.
Javon
Holland.
Who's that?
Yeah. Who? So yeah, good day. Yeah, I mean, great day in terms of the safety for Packers. A sad day letting Aaron Jones go, but such is the NFL. That's what happens. Last few things here. We'll just touch on these briefly. The Lions go and get Carlton Davis. They trade a 3rd-round pick, 2024 3rd-round pick, to the Buccaneers. They get Davis, a 24 and 25 6th-round pick in return. So not too bad for Detroit. We desperately needed a cornerback.
We mentioned, Cam Sutton was bad.
Mosley got hurt. Corner was ACL.
Corner was their obvious, really what they needed, and they went out and got one. Davis is good.
Our friend Tom Monroe, who listens to the show every single episode, actually, thank you for listening, Tom. It's always extremely nice of Tom to text and give us updates about his takes on the show. Appreciate that. He was he promptly reminded me, yes, that the Lions should be feared in the NFC. When I went through the teams that the Packers should or should not fear following the who I thought at the time was Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs combination, I only mentioned the 49ers, and he said the Packers do have a 1-3 record against the Lions over the past 2 years. He said, just want to bring this up again. To be fair, Tom, last time they played, they absolutely blew you out. But no, the Lions really are a couple cornerbacks and maybe a stud receiver, another receiver away from being a very, very complete team who, yeah, they should be feared in this case. They're a great roster. I don't know how much I fear Jared Goff, but the team as a whole is awesome.
Yeah, the thing is, Carlton Davis, he has an injury history. He's not the best cornerback in the league, but he's an above average player who they got for a pretty reasonable price. It's not like they need to sign him to some huge extension or something. So it's the last year of his contract. I think he's probably just going to be a rental and they'll see how he plays. Mm-hmm. But, he's been a quality starter for the Bucs when healthy. And the Lions, after seeing what they had at cornerback last year, they have an offense, right? They don't need the 2000 Ravens. They just need decent players who aren't going to get completely burnt when they have a giant lead. Carlton Davis can be that guy.
I keep forgetting the Lions should have gone to the Super Bowl.
They were up by
lead.
17 points.
17 points. I keep forgetting that. The Lions were, one of like 7 different things that could have gone their way away from going to.
The Lions have a Super Bowl roster. Like they're complete. They're very, very good.
Yeah. No, and again, if you could get the Carlton Davis from a couple of years ago now, buckle up. The Giants send a 2nd and a 5th for Brian Burns, then agree to a 5-year, $150 million contract. Ziggy, go ahead. You can tell them what the Rams had offered and why the Giants are idiots, and also why the Panthers are idiots, and then why the Giants got a good deal, you thought, for Brian Burns.
Yeah, it's I think back the middle of the 2022 season, the Rams offered 2 firsts and a 2nd for Brian Burns.
That is an insane amount of compensation.
Yeah, I mean, they were, and again, the Panthers were right. The Rams weren't as bad as everyone thought, but instead they're getting a 2nd and a 5th. He's a very, very good player. I think he's just outside those top edge rushers. So like outside the Bosa, Watt, Garrett tier.
Yeah.
But I think he's right there of like Montez Sweat, Rashawn Gary, Bradley Chubb, like some of those, Trey Hendrickson. So like he's right there with those guys. I left Max Crosby out of that top tier. Sorry, Max.
Yeah, I was gonna say, would you put Danielle Hunter in?
I don't know what to think about Danielle Hunter. I'll be honest. What I think about him depends on where he goes in free agency. And we'll decide what tier he ends up in. But no, I was looking at $150 million. I think to people sounds like a whole lot of money.
To me,
in terms of total value, that's the 2nd highest edge rusher contract in the league. But you go back and look, all that really matters, these teams have unlimited money. All that really matters is percentage of the cap, right?
Yes.
And if you go back and look at that, some of the guys that are up there in that top tier, they signed deals that were worth much less of the total cap, right? So Brian Burns, he signed for 11.76% of the cap at signing. Bosa was 15. Watt was 15. Garrett was almost 14. Mack was almost 15. So it's a significantly smaller deal, only a little more than 2/3 of what the top.
But I think fitting. I thought fitting for that he is a second-tier pass rusher.
Yeah, but it's, you can't get elite edge rushers like, top 10 position players in free agency. Trading only a second and a fifth and extending him, I think,
without having to reset the market is nice too, because it seems everyone resets.
You're signing him for a deal that I think accurately matches his talents. Mm-hmm. And if he plays really well, he was stuck in Carolina. The defense was up and down there. If he plays really well, it could end up being a bargain signing, if anything.
And it's always super nice to have a very good player in the defensive end of the ball. Like, I can get into the backfield. Like, watching TJ Watt all these freaking years. And he's not TJ Watt, but he's good. But like to me with the Giants, it doesn't push the needle, like in my eyes, and what I think of the Giants. Like, it's not like an earth-shattering move to me for the Giants.
Oh, I think the Giants are.
He's the kind of guy you want to leave around for 5 or 6 years. So when your next quarterback comes in and you get off this Daniel Jones chicanery, you can play the game.
Yeah, I think.
I'm like, he'll be a great guy to have, but it's not gonna.
Yeah, no, it's good for the Giants, but Giants have a lot of work to do after losing Saquon too. Like, that offense, oh my god!
Like, Burns will be fun to watch, but that's about it.
Yeah, Giants defense.
I think their hope is that he plays well, and in the middle of the contract, this starts to look like a good deal.
Yeah. But again, to me, there are so many problems with the Giants offense right now. I think this is a good deal. That aside, though, the Giants need to wake the hell up on offense. I don't know who are you throwing to right now? Like, what are you doing?
I mean,
Whoever
nothing.
You're taking in the draft.
Yeah. Like they are so far off offensively. This is a start for your defense getting to the level you want. But was it? It's Daniel Jones. Like, who are on the Giants again?
Their line is awful. Saquon Barkley is a retort. Like, if you want to counter my not liking running backs, like, you can counter with him because
he's sensational.
Like, the Giants line is so horrible, and like, he has done some very good things, but now it's like they don't even have that. Like, who is it now?
What, in running back?
Yeah, who are they going to hand the ball to?
I can't even remember right now.
Devin Singletary, they just signed him.
Oh, Singletary, they just got him. Still,
and like, who are they? They're horrendous.
You hope Hyatt breaks through. Yeah, Waller, let's go. I remember watching Barkley. Barkley in the.
We got some breaking news.
What?
So Deanna Rossini, NFL Insider, has reported the Packers wanted Aaron Jones to take a 50% pay cut. He said no. The number one suitor for Aaron Jones.
Yes.
Right now, you know who it is?
Yes,
Giants.
Yes, please. Come on. Tell me it's the Minnesota Vikings.
It is the Minnesota Vikings.
I would love.
It is peak off season. If we get Aaron Jones, 2 games a year, Aaron Jones is going. In those games, I don't care if he misses 15
That
games.
is great news.
He put up 400 yards and 3 touchdowns.
That is sensational news. I was hoping so hard to take him from them after this broke, because I'm reading all the tiers of Packers fans. And this is something, where in the comment section, they always say, like, those delicious Vikings tears, which we are always crying. I'm reading the Packers fans so upset losing Aaron Jones. And in the back of my mind, this just shows that, I'm an evil football fan. I'm thinking to myself, how great would it be? I don't even care if he's good. If we sign this guy and just see what happens. Rossini said we're the number 1.
Yep.
Is there a number 2 on the list or no?
No, the Vikings are the only team, she said, that's shown real interest so far.
The Minnesota Vikings are interested. That's so good. Oh, everyone's reporting it. That'd be great. I would love to do that. And now we're a quarterback away. No, I'm telling you, the Vikings the Vikings team is going to be right there. We're going to be right there. And if we hit the pick, if we can somehow get one of the rookie quarterbacks who's been breaking out recently,
we just need to we'll get the one.
You need help on the defensive side of the ball too.
Oh, we had a bunch of things today. We got Grenard, we got Van Ginkel, we got the. Yeah, I'm sorry, Zach.
Oh, Van Ginkel's gone.
We signed Van Ginkel.
Van Ginkel and Wilkins are gone.
Yeah, Wilkins too.
Sad.
We signed Van Ginkel. We signed Grenard. We signed the another Texans linebacker. I'm telling you, things are looking good for the Vikings with all this Kirk Cousins money now. Jaden Daniels,
So
baby.
maybe you should have paid Kirk.
If we had Kirk
Well, then I
Cousins
guess you
right
wouldn't
now.
have got. Then you.
I don't know. I don't know if we probably could have made it
Couldn't
work.
afford
We
it.
probably could have found a way to make it work by pushing all the money back. And it would have been, but then here's what would have happened, guys, is we wouldn't have won this year and we would be in absolute hell for like 2 or 3 years. It was just too much. Does it make you regret it a little bit, Ziggy, or no?
Not at all.
No, if you get if you can draft a decent quarterback and he pans out to be fine.
The Kirk Cousins contract was too big.
This is the whole thing. This is what it all comes down to: is if we hit our pick, we have a better chance to win the Super Bowl. That was the whole argument we had, and it's they're doing a good job right now.
Time for with Bo next.
I am.
Oh, I can't. I don't know, man. It's gonna be McCarthy.
I'm
I know it's gonna be
excited.
McCarthy.
If letting Kirk Cousins walk was the price of getting Aaron Jones, I'll take it.
What? So we got Aaron Jones in a Vikings jersey would hurt my
I've
soul.
totally derailed the show with this news, but anyone who's still watching to this point knows.
We're going on 2
This
hours.
is absolutely worth
No,
We just hit an hour and 5.
Okay,
Oh,
we'll wrap it up. The very final thing we'll do, like 2 minutes. Zach, keep us on a tight leash here. Jerry Jeudy traded for a 5th and 6th round. Zach is like, are we seriously talking about this right now?
I mean, Jerry Jeudy,
Multiple days old.
gives the Browns one of the best skill position rooms in the entire league. Not like, not quite Dolphins level, but I mean, look at the starting lineup that you're going to be rolling out.
I'd say like
right?
Steelers level.
Chubb, Jerome Ford, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, David Njoku. Like, there's a fair number of good players there.
They're right there.
No, this roster just needs a little bit of decent QB play to win the Super Bowl. Like, this roster is here.
Oh,
Like,
I loved the
It's
trade.
a Super Bowl caliber roster. I mean, to go and get Jerry Jeudy, a decent receiver for a 5th and a 6th rounder, I like that deal too.
It's basically a 1 year. It's basically a 1 year Jerry Jeudy because you're in all likelihood, unless he breaks out and you pay him, you're probably going to let him go. But
We know that. I mean, I'm saying the obvious. We all know this. It's Deshaun Watson.
oh yeah,
Like, I mean, if
but now that it's all there.
that's an extra weapon, I mean, that can't hurt. I think it's a good deal. You got him for cheap.
Well, think that Njoku had such a great breakout at the end during last season. Amari Cooper is always due for that 1 or 2, 200-yard games where he dominates. Amari Cooper's really good.
Defense is elite.
And now you get Jerry Jeudy, who I think is a great, or not maybe not great, but a solid number
Solid
2,
receiver,
better than Elijah Moore. So Elijah Moore should be the 3.
He's better than like who do they? They had Peoples Jones.
Peoples
too.
Jones. Yeah, like Jerry Jeudy. There's potential there for him to be very, very good. I didn't think the other guys had that.
It's Watson. Decent play from Watson.
I loved it for Cleveland, I loved it for Cleveland when it happened. I remember, I think Zack broke the news, or Ziggy, I can't remember who in the chat. Like, man, that's well done.
That was a good
well
deal.
done. Yeah, the Browns, always known for their brilliant wheeling and dealing
He'll
of
stank.
players.
He'll stank.
as they sport the worst contract in the history of the sport. Okay, that'll do it for today's show. Just a quick recap on free agency.
It felt like longer than an hour and 7
Yeah,
minutes.
a quick recap of, let's not forget day 1 of free agency.
Day 1. And we didn't even
Really,
say
it's
Christian
day
Wilkins.
-2 of free agency. Free agency starts on Wednesday.
Actually, can we do a very quick check-in on Zack? Because, you guys got scorched, it felt like.
Yeah, but I don't know. It is what it is.
What are the Raiders doing? This is the Tom Telesco special. The team sucks, so we're immediately going to give one random defensive free agent an enormous deal and trade him in 2 years. Like, this is the classic Tom. Chargers fans know, the 3 Chargers fans that are watching this, you guys knew this is what he was doing the second he came in. I'm so glad the Dolphins let Christian Wilkins walk at this price tag. This deal is going to look so bad in 2 years.
Yeah, the way I look at it is 2 of our players equaled $210 million today.
Mm-hmm.
We are not spending $210 million on 2 players.
Well, you know what I thought of too, Zach, was it sucks to lose Wilkins and Van Ginkel, but with Phillips and Chubb, you guys still have a great defensive
and Sealer.
Yeah, I mean your D line is still
the thing I'm going to
good.
miss most about Christian Wilkins, and I think this is why the Raiders paid so much for him, is he is so good for the locker room. Like, his energy is just
I saw a few things
insane. And he could change a franchise. He just loves playing football.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so good for
those guys. Those guys matter
for a team like the Raiders who are trying to rebuild again. He's a key piece.
I wish we had a
I
camera.
mean, the
on
Raiders
Zach.
gave him a bag.
Oh, huge.
I was blown
Huge.
away
Yeah,
by that.
I'm
I'm like,
telling you.
holy
Isn't
crap.
the money in the NFL is just absurd when we're thinking like $100 million. We're like, oh yeah, he got like a 90 mil. Oh, he didn't get $100 mil. $100 million.
Some of these guys are complaining like, oh, no, I don't want 80 mil. I want more.
Yeah,
What I would do for, oh my gosh. I mean, he got the bag.
You'd be the best quarterback in the world for $180 million.
I'd be the best quarterback in the world for
$5 million.
for 900K.
I wish we had a camera on Zach who is just sitting on the ground. I said, hey, you want cherries? He's like, no.
Zach seems ready to wrap this show.
Zach's just starting his show. Zach is finally getting involved on the show today. He's ready to go for another hour.
Zach's feeling better. It's a good thing.
Okay, so we'll finish up. We made you wait for the best part to get to Zach at the end on his Dolphins take. Zach, how far are the Dolphins going next year? Our March 11th prediction.
Super Bowl.
Fair enough.
I mean, how can you not, right?
So just remember, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. As of the end of this video, we are at 9,226.
Oh, look, we have little nameplates.
Yeah, we do have little nameplates.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Just the magical editing elf came and gave us nameplates recently, and new mortises as well. So.
Beautiful.
Also, a last reminder to sign up for our March Madness challenge, the bracket challenge. We'll figure out the name for it. I haven't made it yet, but it'll probably just be the Paul Farrington Show. And the winner gets a free piece of merch, whatever you want. Well, whatever I will want, I guess.
That's whatever I want. I have a very good pick.
Yeah, and I have no shame too. Ziggy has no shame. Jack has no shame. Like, we are very open to winning our own bracket.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll tell you this much.
I have a very good pick.
If someone wins and they don't want a piece of our merchandise, they can ask for me to wear an "I Love Love" shirt for 2 episodes in a row. I'll do it.
Oof. Yeah, and
you know what?
It's
not an incentive to sign up. I don't know what is.
Yeah, and if someone rather, I'll wear the Jordan Love jersey as well.
I could be naked.
And Jack can be naked. So Ziggy will be in the "I Love Love." I'll be in the Jordan Love jersey, and Jack will be naked.
If a pretty girl wins our bracket and wants me to be nude, I'll be nude.
Well, what if like in all likelihood regular dude wins?
Then I would be naked. I'd do it. That's what they want.
Jack is liability.
This is how you know the show is.
Whoever wants to be
far.
naked, I'll be naked.
Let's end the show.
Okay, all right.
We just lost. Paul, the subscriber count's going down.
No, we just gained.
Yeah, hopefully no one's listening at this point. All right, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll be back with a Wednesday mailbag, maybe some more free agency reaction. I'm sure more free agency as more things happen. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.